Now, as Americans were preparing their turkeys and traveling to see their loved ones this Thanksgiving, probably you guys among them, the media were concerned with something much more important.
Leaving the White House to spend Thanksgiving in Florida.
West Palm Beach, where the president is spending his Thanksgiving holiday.
President Trump has arrived at his golf club that is here, and so it seems as though that is how he'll be spending the day today.
All right, and it didn't stop there. Newsweek published an article with this headline: How is Trump spending Thanksgiving? Tweeting, golfing, and more. But what the media didn't know is that the White House planned a top-secret trip to visit U.S. troops in Afghanistan.
There's nowhere I'd rather celebrate this Thanksgiving than right here with the toughest, strongest, best and bravest warriors on the face of the earth. We thank God for your health and all of the things that you've done. You are very special people, and you don't even know how much the people of our country love and respect you.
Well, this forced the media to sort of backtrack. Newsweek updating its headline to quote, tweeting, golfing, and surprising U.S. troops in Afghanistan. Joining me now to react is Kayleigh McEnany, National Press Secretary for the Trump 2020 campaign, and Jessica Holdsworth, Democratic strategist and former campaign staffer for Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign. Ladies, welcome aboard. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
Hello. Good to join you.
So, look, it was a great Thanksgiving for our troops in Afghanistan. It was an action that I wasn't surprised to see the president take. We know his feelings about the military. We've seen other presidents make surprise trips to war zones, et cetera. But, Kayleigh, there seems to be this almost confirmation bias that the media sees what it wants to see. They're going to go with the negative no matter what, almost irritated when he doesn't fit in within that narrative. What's your take on, I know it's not new for us to see this, but it has been 3 years. What's your take on where all this is leading?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what the media does. We see it repeatedly, Tammy. Every day we see some rendition of a fake news story, and it follows the same pattern. They report falsely something about President Trump or his administration. They then update it or correct it, if we're lucky, if they have one iota of honesty, but they do so on Thanksgiving evening at 6:17 p.m. as this correction was given. There was another AP story corrected on the Friday before 4th of July weekend. But you're exactly right. They see what they want to see. It's always the negative about President Trump, but people see through it when ABC News posts video from Kentucky and act as if it's from a Syrian war zone. This is what exposes the media, and the more they do it, the more the American people wake up and get behind President Trump. Yeah,
I mean, this is, I have to say, Jennifer, it's an interesting dynamic because this is an industry that all Americans have relied on. It's an important American industry, and it seems to be destroyed. They're destroying their own media effectively as we move through this. And a good republic, a good democracy, needs people to question power and to be taken seriously. Are you, even though obviously I'm going to guess you don't like President Trump, but isn't it important for no matter who the candidates are for America to have a media that can be trusted?
Yes, well, the president has spent the last 6 years denigrating any media source that isn't this network and other outlets that support him. However,
well, with this kind of thing, can you blame him?
Well, Newsweek told the truth. The media was purposely not told that the president was going to Afghanistan for good reason. It's a security measure, so there was no way that Newsweek was going to report that before he actually showed up. However, the rest of that headline is true. The president tweeted and he played golf on Thanksgiving. He traveled to Mar-a-Lago. What we didn't know is that he was also traveling to Afghanistan, which I commend him for. He's actually acting presidential for once when he goes there and greets our troops. But it's not about shaming this president. This president doesn't feel shame. Otherwise, he would have resigned from office years ago. I'm very proud that he went to Afghanistan to spend time with the troops. The media didn't lie. They said exactly what he did when they were able to say it.
It's possible. And I know you worked with Hillary, and she had some trouble with media as well, and does still to some degree. Isn't it possible that while you might not like the president's style, that he does care and that things that surround this country and affect this country, that it does matter to him, that maybe we can maybe you don't agree with style or the nature of some of the things he's done, but it's so personal, this notion of he doesn't feel shame. Is that how can you even really know that about someone unless it's just rhetoric for you?
Again, what I said is that I appreciate that the president went to Afghanistan.
But even that's a backhanded. I mean, there's a reason why the president, Kayleigh, goes after the media. And I would love him to have a normal relationship with the media, but they've made it impossible at this point when we see how they respond to every single thing he does. Kayleigh, I mean, is there any way we can bridge this gap when you hear things that are so personal that are also untrue?
Yeah, the only way to bridge this gap is for the media to stand up and do what they're there to do, which is to report facts, to report honestly, and not to attempt to shape public opinion. But that's not going to change from the media. And why the American people love this president is that he calls out institutions that have long betrayed this country. The media, whose approval rating was at a historic low before President Trump was elected. Not just the Democrat Party. He called out the Republican Party and said neither of these parties are working for the people. And then he changed the Republican Party to be a vehicle that works for the people and answers to their demands of what they elect people to do. He's challenged institutions that have betrayed the American public, and they see that, and I guarantee you this president wins with overwhelming support. That map's going to look a lot redder in 2020 than it did in 2016.
Yeah, I think that's one of the issues, especially for Democrats who don't like him, is realizing that there is something else that's occurred in the country worth looking at. But then there's something else that we see going on. Ladies, liberals once again revealing their true selves this Thanksgiving.
But you keep saying that the American people love this president. Less than 50% people do.
Jennifer, one second here.
Rely on polls again.
Jennifer,
so well for
Jennifer,
you in
when Maryland, excuse me, we're going to move on here for 1 second. We know you don't like him. We know you're upset. We know everyone's upset. You're a young woman. This is no way to live life. It's Thanksgiving. We're moving into the holiday. Politics can be rough and tumble. But most of us who've seen this unfold over 3 years remain shocked at the level of the vitriol, and that's not going to help anyone. Certainly it's not going to help your party next year. In this case, an example of that is Governor Martin O'Malley publicly harassed acting Deputy Homeland Secretary, Security Secretary Ken Cuccinelli, an eyewitness to the entire belligerent scene, telling the Ingram angle that O'Malley instigated the entire situation, storming over, yelling at Cuccinelli about the administration's immigration policy. Cuccinelli told Fox News, quote, O'Malley pushed his way through the small group to confront me face to face, still cursing me, the president, and my Italian ancestry, and he got up in my face, bumped up against me, invited me to take a swing at him, at which point I said, Martin, one of us has to rise above this, and it's obviously not going to be you. Jennifer, was that appropriate? Is that something you think is all right?
Well, I can't speak to firsthand knowledge of what happened, but to me, that sounds wildly inaccurate from the story that was relayed to me multiple times. I know Governor O'Malley. I know that he's passionate about what he was talking about. If this administration can't take being spoken to about their policies that are hurting people,
Jennifer,
then I suggest that they get out of professional politics.
This is obviously the other problem, is that even O'Malley's not denying the nature of what occurred. There's multiple witnesses, Kayleigh, bartenders, the wait staff, other people that were there.
He spoke to him in a very loud bar.
Excuse me. It was an invitation to start a physical fight using obscenities, insulting his Italian heritage. Kayleigh, we've seen the encouragement to confront and attack Trump supporters. We've seen it happen in public. Kayleigh, this is a former governor, seems to think that this is appropriate behavior.
That's right. And the Washington Post reported it, as you noted, Martin O'Malley not denying it. This is, as you said, a former Democrat governor who is engaging in this behavior. And it just shows you there is such a vile animosity on the left that cannot get over the fact that President Trump won. It's why Sarah Sanders was not allowed to eat dinner in a restaurant. It's why Kirstjen Nielsen was, essentially chased out, bullied out of a restaurant. Now Ken Cuccinelli, too. And it all comes at the direction of Maxine Waters. It's time to, quote, absolutely harass Trump officials in public places.
So, Jennifer,
you don't see this on the right. This is not what Republicans do. This is what the left does. We go to the ballot box. They chase people out of restaurants.
Americans are seeing that and judging for themselves. Jennifer, I've been told that an Ingram Angle producer was in that pub just after the event and confirmed with a number of witnesses that were there, including the waitstaff. Would it be so difficult to be able to say that was wrong as opposed to denying it and pretending it didn't happen?
I'm going to take your word that he threatened physical violence. That is absolutely never the answer. But if an administration official can't take being spoken to about these policies...
No, but that's not what happened here. And this is the issue.
This is what you're telling me. This is
not
what this program's producer is telling me. I wasn't
you.
there. I didn't speak to Governor O'Malley.
See, this is why the Democrats have such trouble. Ladies, thank you very much for joining me. I do appreciate it. This is the problem, right? I mean, this is the nature of what we've got happening in society, and there's even a refusal to admit it. By the way, I want to say for Kayleigh, many of you may not know, she has just had a baby. She is a new mom. Kayleigh, congratulations. I saw it on social media, a really beautiful event. It's little Blake, isn't that right?
That's right, and I saw your message on Twitter. Thank you so much. We're so blessed this holiday season.
Well, congratulations. I mean, with everything going on, this is a good reminder here with this segment. Yeah. Life matters, enjoying your life, being able to deal with certain elements of reality. Being political is fine, but it's also the fact that family matters and being able to, deal with the nature of what's occurring and, embrace the wonderful things and condemn the things that aren't so wonderful. All right, Kayleigh, thank you so much and congratulations.
Thank you.